In today's Tactical Tuesday episode, I want to discuss the important topic of counterpicking. Counterpicking, as this video defines, is to go over your choice in a deck when taking it to a tournament. Locally, you can counterpick your friends or even at an in-home setting with your family. But in the grand scheme of things, Digimon decks all have different styles and even players to boot. With Nationals quickly approaching, players have to make an incredibly difficult choice of what deck to bring and also consider a few variables. While Metal Garurumon X is at present one of the most popular decks, Black War Greymon X is one of the decks that many are speculating that will be the meta contender going into Nationals. And honestly, I can't blame them. The deck has a lot of consistency. But today, let's talk about what happens when you select a specific deck to counter another. As always, if you enjoy these types of videos, do consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. Remember when I started making cross-counter decks at the beginning of BT10? While it was fun to look at decks that would have a strong matchup against Crossheart, this didn't necessarily mean that you would have a strong matchup everywhere else. And that is where the source of this topic lies. With Melga X, this deck has amazing matchups against most decks, but loses primarily to security control. Blue in general has no ways to handle the security filled with option cards that can DP reduce, delete, or bounce. But this is where sacrificing consistency with a dash of red for a delicate plan improves your matchup even if slightly. On the flip side of things, security control has evolved into predominantly two routes: Yellow Hybrid of some sort, and Mastamon. Although to be fair at this point, Mastamon also has diverged into several routes as well, depending on what you base your level 5s around. Again, that being said, Yellow Hybrid has also deviated from typical control elements to also more aggro variants. Yellow Hybrid was observed in the last Ultimate Cup utilizing green bases for memory control, suspension, and other fun option cards like Grand El Sol, or even red bases for more card draw and outright destruction. But while security control decks are powerful, they have one issue when it comes to bringing them to tournaments, and that is the mirror match. While you may match up against Metal Garurumon X, and it's a strong matchup for you, very rarely will you find a tournament composed of any single deck. Even with Eggman's top 16 lists from tournaments, post BT7 is at ever 40 or even 50% of the top 16 being a single deck. Because of this, a single matchup with another security control deck can instantly remove you from an undefeated record. It's fine when either you or your opponent takes game 1 and game 2 goes to a draw, as the result will yield a single winner. But in the case you go to time with 1 win, 1 loss, and a draw, well, you're in a draw, and now you've been knocked from the undefeated branch. Because of this, ultimately as a security control player, you are prone to not only drawing but also being paired up against another player who is undefeated, in this situation where there's an odd number of players left who are undefeated. Even though you may bring a deck to hard counter one deck, this is where RNG plays a huge factor in how well you'll do in a tournament. And this is something that can't be mitigated, like using searchers, memory fixers, or memory boosts when you brick. Going into each round with a clear head is better than having wild expectations that you'll play against the very deck you'll play, or in other cases, dread. So whether you're going with security control for Nationals and thinking you'll play against Melga, or you find the perfect deck that counters Black War Greymon X, remember, you might not even match up against the deck, and instead, play against everything else. Take it from me, bringing anti-blue hybrid when playing in an Evo Cup. Did I find any blue hybrid games? Funny enough, no I did not. It was Jesmon round 1, Jesmon round 2, and Jesmon round 3. And it was not a great matchup for me, I'll tell you. In another Evo Cup, I brought in red hybrid, and again it was Jesmon round 1, Jesmon round 2, and finally, blue hybrid. When I faced that blue hybrid deck, I was like, you know what? And chatting with the guy, he hadn't played against a red hybrid deck, so it was some good practice for him to play against as well. But in the end, after that round, I dropped the tournament. Overall, the takeaway of this video is, do not bring a deck that hard counters one deck, but loses to everything else. Because in the end, you want a deck that has a broad matchup against all kinds of decks, whether they be control, aggro, or mid to late game. Decks like Commandramon can steal wins from some of the metaist of meta decks because of their wide board building that some decks tend to ignore. Linear decks like Grandis Kuwagamon, Metal Garurumon X, and even War Greymon X tend to stay safely in the raise before going all in. But if they don't find their pieces at the rate their security is being chipped away, it's simply game over. What are your thoughts on counter picking? Is it something you've done in the past, or are you one to just play the deck that's the meta pick at the time? Let me know your thoughts on this short Tactical Tuesday episode as I cover more broad topics that might sharpen your skills or give you a competitive edge at Nationals. This is DigiPanda, logging out.